A dark horse next James Bond contender here has a better chance after new $150 million franchise casting. The race to be the next James Bond has taken more twists and turns than a spy thriller, with fan favorites like Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Henry Cavill, and Regina Page dominating the conversation. But in a surprising development, a dark horse contender may now be closer to sipping a shaken, not stirred martini than ever before. Thanks to a new casting announcement in a $150 million franchise, this under-the-radar actor just became a major player in 007's future, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. Enter Harris Dickinson. Long admired for his range and intensity, Dickinson has remained a somewhat stealthy presence in the Bond casting speculation. He's not usually the first name mentioned in betting pools or fan lists, but that may be about to change. With his newly announced role as the lead in an upcoming action-heavy tentpole franchise helmed by a major studio, one that reportedly has a $150 million budget and plans for multiple sequels, Dickinson is stepping firmly into blockbuster territory. And Bond producers may be watching closely. From indie darling to action star, Dickinson rose to prominence in acclaimed indie fare like Beach Rats and The Kingsman, the latter of which offered a sneak preview of how he might handle the suave meets savage duality that James Bond demands. In The Kingsman, he balanced boyish charm with hardened courage, holding his own opposite Ralph Fiennes and conveying the moral complexity of a young man caught in war. It was his unofficial audition tape for Bond, and now, with this new high-octane role on his resume, he's proving he can anchor a franchise. The casting news confirms that Dickinson will lead the new sci-fi action epic Echelon Protocol, a project expected to kick off a trilogy. The film is described as Mission Impossible meets Inception and will reportedly showcase elaborate stunt sequences, hand-to-hand combat, and a psychological edge. In other words, it's exactly the kind of proving ground that could launch him from interesting actor to global icon. Timing is everything. Bond producer Barbara Broccoli has made it clear that the next Bond actor needs to commit for a decade, not just for one film, but for an entire reimagining of the franchise. That's no small ask, and many of the frontrunners already have packed schedules or franchise commitments that complicate things. Taylor-Johnson is reportedly circling 007, but recent horror roles and Marvel fatigue have raised questions about his long-term fit. Cavill is still flirting with spy territory in Argyll, but at 41, he may be aging out of the long-term Bond reboot window. Regina Page, once a top favorite, has remained quiet on action prospects. Dickinson, at 28, is the perfect age to sign on for a decade-long Bond saga, old enough to bring maturity and weight, but young enough to grow into the role and keep pace with evolving audience expectations. His relatively clean slate, free of too many franchise entanglements, also works in his favor. The look, the accent, the mystery. Casting Bond isn't just about age or resume, it's about aura. Can the actor exude danger, sensuality, mystery, and intelligence in a single glance? Dickinson has that quality in spades. With sharp features, steely blue eyes, and a quiet intensity that smolders on screen, he projects the kind of confidence that feels earned rather than performative. His natural British accent doesn't hurt, and unlike many contenders, he doesn't have an overpowering public persona that might overshadow the character. Bond thrives in actors who carry a whiff of enigma, someone the audience doesn't fully know but wants to. That's precisely where Dickinson lives right now. Echelon Protocol, the unofficial audition? Echelon Protocol could serve as Dickinson's full-scale audition for Bond. If he handles the physicality, sells the action, and proves he can headline a major film, the 007 camp will undoubtedly take notice. The film is set to release in summer 2026, conveniently aligning with the rumored pre-production timeline for the Bond.